I'm Ratnabhushan, a friend motivator and guide to IAS aspirant, international motivational speaker, leadership trainer, CA coach, political strategist, and policy advisor. The stars in the sky. The stars in the sky, there can be only one sun at a time. Never obscure the sunlight or rival the sun's brilliance, rather fade into the sky, find ways to heighten the master star's intensity. Find ways to heighten the master star's intensity. This quote I've taken from the book The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. The most important news of today is our source, the Hindu newspaper. Smoke chokes US West Coast as wildfire rages on. Wildfire smoke that posed a health hazard to millions choked the West Coast and Saturday as firefighters battled deadly blazes that obliterated some towns and displaced tens of thousands of people in the latest in a series of calamities this year. For people already enduring the coronavirus pandemic, the resulting economic fallout and political tensions evident, the Black Lives Matter protest. For right counter-protest, the fires added a new layer of misery. What's next? You have the protest, coronavirus pandemic now, wildfires, what else can go wrong? Lamented Daniel Oliver, 40 of Happy Valley, southeast of the Portland. The death toll from the fires in California, Oregon, Washington stood at 31 and was expected to rise sharply. Most of the fatalities were in California, Oregon. The next important news is reducing India's cancer burden. Reducing India's cancer burden. We need to focus on risk reduction, early detection, and programmatic and policy solution. The Indian Council of Medical Research, ICMR, National Center for Disease Informatics and Research, NCDIR, National Cancer Registry Program report for August 2020 has estimated that the number of cancer cases in India in 2020 is 13.9 lakh. India has been a steadily rise in the cancer cases over many decades. A 2017 report showed that India's cancer burden increased 2.6 times between 1990 to 2016, and deaths due to the cancer doubled during the time. Almost two-thirds of these cases at the latest stages in men. The most common cancer of the lung, oral cavity, stomach, and esophagus, while in women, breast cancer, cervix, ovary, and gallbladder cancers are the most common. Tobacco use in all forms is a mere avoidable risk factor for the development of cancer in 27% of cancer cases. Other important risk factors include alcohol use, inappropriate diet, low physical activity, obesity, and pollution. Cancer causes loss of lives and also has a tremendous socio-economic impact. Reducing cancer is a prerequisite for the addressing social and economic inequality. Inequality is stimulating economic growth and accelerating sustainable development, but merely investing in cancer treatment is not an economical viable option. We need to focus on the three key aspects of risk reduction, early detection, and programmatic and policy solution. Community empowerment. Cancer occurrence is a complex interplay of host and environmental determinants which mask its difficult to predict it an individual level, but it is estimated that nearly 50 to 60% of cancer cases can be avoided by tackling the known risk factors effectively. Community empowerment through a multi-sectoral approach that brings together government, private practitioners, and civil society to increase health literacy and promote certain behavior can go a long way in reducing potential risk factors. Improved awareness can also prevent stigma attached to the disease. We need to ensure that the health system are strengthened so that there is a greater access to screening and vaccination only detections and timely affordable treatment. The importance of data. Population health approaches are also relevant of the large scale impact. Programmatic and policy level solutions need to be driven by data. The information collected through the National Cancer Registry Program has been used effectively over the years to advocate for better access to screening, early detections, referral treatment, and palliative care services. It's also helped the safe cancer research in the country, which of the crucial importance to guide our efforts in cancer prevention and control. Making cancer a notifiable disease could be one of the ways to drive their research further by providing greater access to accurate, relevant data that can be drive policy decision. India is committed to achieving a one-third reduction in cancer-related death by 2030 as a part of the Sustainable Development Goals, and it has made considerable progress. India has improved in some areas such as the personal hygiene, which were destined to drive up the cancer. Government programs such as Ayushman Bharat, Swasthya Bharat, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, Poshan Abhiyan, Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Jan Aushadhi Pariyojana, and the initiatives such as FSSAI new labeling and displaying regulations and direct price control can encourage intersectoral and multisectoral actions. Other initiatives such as the National Health Policy, the National Tobacco Control Program, and the National Program for the Prevention and Control for Cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, stroke are also paving the way for the progress. Our approach should not simply focus on the diagnostic treatment modalities and vaccine, but emphasize inclusivity in thinking and actions for equitable solutions that can greatly reduce the impact of the cancer across all socioeconomic levels in the country. The next important news is in LSE talks from the peace to conflict prevention. In LSE talks from peace to conflict prevention, there seems to be irreconcilable differences between India and China are fundamentals of the key border agreements. This article was written by D.S. Huda in the Hindu newspaper editorial. The ongoing crisis in Eastern Ladakh has raised many issues on the range of the trajectory of the India-China relations, among these of the future relations, relevance of the various agreements that were signed between the two countries to maintain peace and tranquility along the line of actual control that serve as a de facto border. Agreements over the years. Some experts argue that genesis of the current problem lies in the first agreement signed between India and China in 1993. They say India should not have accepted the term LSE in this agreement as there are no clarity as to where this line lay on the ground, and this ambiguity has forced India to adopt a policy of appeasement on the LSE. The absence of delineated LSE is undoubtedly problematic, but it would also be appropriate to the various agreements in the historic context and dispassionately analyze their impact and their future relevance. After 1962 war, the India-China border was loosely controlled by both sides. With a fairly sparse deployment of troops, that did not mean the border claims were diluted by either side, as witnessed in the bloody clash at the Nehru-Nathula in 1967. The China Study Group, established in 1976, gave clarity to India's claims by laying down the patrolling points and guiding the scope of military activity along the LSE. A significant change in the border management occurred after the Chinese occupations of a post in the Samdorong Chu Valley in 1986. The massive response by the Indian Army sparked realization on both sides that the boundary issue needed to be brought to the fore, and the pending settlement, some mechanism must be evolved to keep peace along the LSE. I was posted as a young major in the China desk, the military operations directorate, when Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi made the breakthrough visiting to Beijing in 1988. After his visit, we had started working on a number of draft and confidence building measures along the LSE. Many of these recommendations were incorporated in agreement on the maintenance of the peace and tranquility along the line of actual control in the India-China border area signed in 1993. The 1993 agreement formalized the LSE concept. However, understanding there were differentiating perceptions, it is called for creating a group of diplomatic and military experts to resolution of the difference between the two sides on the alignment of the line of actual control. The agreement eschewed the use of the force to settle the boundary issue, and as a part of the confidence building measures, restricted military exercises and every activity close to LSE. And an essential part of agreement was a reduction in the military forces along the line of actual control to conformity with requirements of the principle of mutual and equal security to sailings to mutually agreed. This was followed by 1996 agreement between Government of the Republic of India and the Government of People's Republic of China, confidence building measures in the military field along the line of actual control in India-China border areas. It called for reducing or limiting military forces to a minimum levels and limiting the deployment of the major armaments such as tanks, artillery, guns, missiles to mutually agreed levels. A 2005 protocol or the protocol between Government of the Republic of India and the Government of People's Republic of China and modalities for the implementations of confidence building measures in the military field along the line of actual control in India-China border area added one more confidence building measures outlined the procedure to be adopted when soldiers of the two sides come to face situation while the patrolling areas where there were differing perception of policy. The protocol also agreed to expand the mechanism of border meeting points and exchange between two militaries. Interestingly, there was no mention of a reduction in the military force. Unimplemented aspect. These agreements serve as a useful purpose. Undoubtedly, they resulted in extended period of calm along the LAC, ensured that not a shot was fired. However, two unimplemented aspects of the agreements combined with the shift of military postures by both sides have led to the erosion of confidence building measures between the two armies in the past few years. First, the difference in the alignment of the LAC could not be resolved. Attempts were made and maps were exchanged of the central sector, but there were apparent irreconcilable differences over the between sectors and the progress stalled in 2002. Second, the agreement on reducing military forces along the LAC to the minimum was neither seriously discussed nor implemented. In the late 1980s, when rapprochement with the China was being considered, the Indian Army looked towards Pakistan as the major threat. However, even at this time, papers produced by an superiors in the military operations of Directorate stated that in about 15 years, India's primary adversaries would be China. By the mid-2000s, the northern borders came into increasing focus of the military and government. In 2006, a decision was taken to build 73 strategic roads along the LAC. In 2010, two new dimensions were raised to the strength and deployment in the Arunachal Pradesh, and additional formations were deployed in Ladakh. In 2013, the Indian government sanctioned the raising the mountain strike caps for the northern border, and infrastructure improved on Indian side, and larger focus was available for patrolling LAC face-off with the Chinese patrols increased. In many cases, the Chinese soldiers complained that they were being prevented from the going up to areas that they had traditionally patrolled, but India was defending its perception in LAC more robustly. There is also a mistaken notion that LAC is some fuzzy and unclear line. India's perceptions of LAC is clearly marked on its military maps, and while the soldiers understand there are areas of differing perception, there is no ambiguity about the line that they are tasked to defend. Some media reports point out that the Indian Army had not been patrolling in the Despang area after 2013 intrusion by the Chinese. I will only briefly state this is not true. As face-off between the two armies become more frequent, protocols weakened. The first manifestations of this came in the Despang intrusion in 2013. The attempted intrusion at the Chumar in 2015. In between Despang and Chumar, both countries signed the Border Defense Corporations Agreement. On the agreement between the Government of the Republic of India and the Government of the People's Republic of China, or Border Defense Cooperation. But it had little impact on the ground. After Doklam, even after Chumar, although protocols had been weakened, they were still holding and held out till the Doklam incident 2017. Doklam incident 2017. It was after Doklam that we saw greater aggression by both sides. On August 15, 2017, videos were flashed all over the media of Indian and China soldiers at Pengyong So involved in the stone throwing. Today, the brutality of deaths along with LSE and the complete loss of trust and disregard of the LSE by China have left all the agreement in tatters. Can we go? Can we go to a situation? Can we go to a situation where both sides revert to respecting in the past agreements? I think it is no longer possible because two fundamentals of the agreement, resolution of the differing perceptions of LSE and reduction of the military forces which have been ignored over the years, stand unimplemented. There seems to be irreconcilable differences over these fundamentals. This reality is reflected in the 5-point consensus arrived at a time the recent meetings between the two foreign ministers. The two sides have agreed to conclude new confidence building measures to maintain and enhance the peace and tranquility in border areas. This is a good step forward, although we should no longer be talking about the peace and tranquility along the LSE but conflict prevention. My dear friends, don't forget to share, subscribe and like, and it's very important, listen carefully, listen carefully, listen carefully. Listening is powerful, listening is powerful, very, very powerful. I will request you, please listen again and again. If you can listen, you can create the new beautiful word in this. Now I would like to share some beautiful thing, fundamental duties which I have taken from Lakshmikant book, and I must request to everyone that each and every Indian must know the fundamental duties. List of fundamental duties according to Article 51 shall be the duty of every citizen of India to abide by the Constitution and respect its ideal institution, the national flag and the national anthem, to cherish and follow the noble ideals that inspire the national struggle for freedom, to uphold and protect for sovereignty, unity, integrity of India, to defend the country and render national service when called upon to do so, to promote harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India, transcending religious, linguistic, regional or sectional diversity, and to renounce practices derogatory to the dignity of women, to value and preserve the rich heritage of the country's composite culture, to protect and improve the natural environment including forests, lakes, rivers and wildlife, and to have compassion for the living creature, to develop scientific temper, humanism and the spirit of inquiry and reform, to safeguard public property and to abjure violence, to strive towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity so that the nation constantly rises to higher levels of endeavor and achievement, to provide opportunity for education to child or ward between the age of 6 and 14 years. This duty was added by 86th Constitutional Amendment Act 2002. Thank you.